It's January 13th here in Seoul, and I'm Kim Dami. We begin with the stories making the headlines at this hour, starting with the warrant to detain President Yoon Suk-yeol. South Korean investigators are yet to execute their warrant to detain Yoon after securing an extended warrant exactly a week ago. Police are ramping up pressure on the Presidential Security Service over allegations that they blocked the first attempt by investigators to detain Yoon over his martial law declaration. And President Yoon's legal team says Yoon does not plan on attending the first formal hearing in his impeachment trial this week, citing personal safety concerns. Two North Korean soldiers captured by Ukraine say they're willing to stay and live in Ukraine. Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelenskyy says he can let go of the soldiers in exchange for Ukrainian soldiers held in Russia. It's been a week since the warrant to detain President Yoon was extended, and investigators are yet to make their move as of this morning. For more, we go live to the presidential residence where our Yooni is standing by. Euni, the CIO could carry out their second attempt as early as today, but there's no movement detected yet, right?
Yes, good morning, Dami. I'm out here near the presidential residence in Hannam-dong, Yongsan-gu District, Central Seoul. Today, Monday, marks the 7th day since the new arrest warrant was issued for President Yoon Suk-yeol. However, there are no signs yet that the CIO is taking any action to execute the arrest warrant, while protests still continue. It is very cold here, and it even snowed for a while earlier this morning. But both supporters and opponents of the president are out voicing their demands. As of now, I see a larger group of President Yoon's supporters leading rallies, but we will have to see how the protests unfold throughout the day. Since reissuing the arrest warrant for President Yoon Suk-yeol, the Corruption Investigation Office for high-ranking officials has been working with the police to finalize the execution plan over the weekend. The team has been focusing on coordinating resources and equipment for the operation, with expectations that the arrest may happen this week once the preparations are complete. They are also considering filing a lawsuit for damages if any injuries occur during the arrest, and are looking into seeking compensation from the Presidential Security Service for the cost associated with removing obstacles at the Hannam-dong presidential residence.
So, Euni, it looks like the investigators are really taking their time to make their next move. But in the meantime, the police are also building pressure on presidential security officers, aren't they?
Yes, exactly, Dami. The police have applied for an arrest warrant for Kim Sung-un, the acting chief of the Presidential Security Service, after he failed to respond to 3 summonses. This comes after the unexpected resignation of former Chief Park Jong-jun last Friday. Additionally, a 3rd summons has been issued for Lee Kwang-woo, the head of the security headquarters, requiring his appearance by 10 a.m., which is now. So we will have to keep an eye on what happens next.
Euni, we have to talk about President Yoon's position. Still firm on not cooperating with the warrant, right?
Yes, Dami, President Yoon's legal team submitted a letter of attorney to the CIO on Sunday requesting a delay in the execution of the arrest warrant until after the conclusion of the impeachment trial at the Constitutional Court. However, the CIO emphasized that the arrest warrant remains valid regardless of the submission of the letters. Also, despite concerns from President Yoon's legal team that the CIO might execute the arrest warrant when President Yoon leaves the presidential residence for the impeachment trial, the CIO has stated that the warrant will be executed regardless of his attendance inside the presidential residence, and they will see when to execute the arrest warrant for now. That's all I have for now. Back to you, Tami.
All right, Euni, thank you for that report. Keep warm. That was our Euni reporting live from Hannam-dong in Yongsan. And President Yoon's impeachment trial begins on Tuesday with the first hearing scheduled for 2 p.m. However, the leader's lawyers announced that he will not be attending this time due to safety concerns. We have our Oh Soo-young on the line at the Constitutional Court. Hello there, Soo-young.
Hi, Dami.
So, Soo-young, President Yoon will not be showing up this time at the first trial hearing. Explain to us what happened and whether this was actually expected.
Sure, Danny. So on Sunday, Yoon's legal team announced that the president would not be attending his first trial hearing, citing security concerns, as you said. Now, this comes as investigators, of course, look to make another attempt to arrest Yoon in the days to come, after their first attempt earlier this month failed after a 5-hour standoff. His attorney, Yoon Guk-gun, said there are ongoing attempts by the Corruption Investigation Office for high-ranking officials to enforce what he described as illegal and invalid arrest warrants through unlawful means. The lawyer stated that issues related to the president's personal safety and security must be resolved, adding that once safety concerns are addressed, he will attend at any time. Now, this doesn't really come as a surprise, given that his team has already indicated that they need more time for preparations, and they've also raised issues with the way that the Constitutional Court is conducting the hearings. Now, if the president skips the first hearing, then it will have to be rescheduled by the justices. But if he misses the second one, then the court is allowed to proceed without him. When former President Park Geun-hye didn't attend her first impeachment trial hearing, the session ended in 9 minutes.
Well, it looks like the trial is off to a rocky start. But on top of that, pre-trial hearings for Prime Minister Han Duck-soo's impeachment also begin on Monday, which is today, which many see as procedurally questionable. Tell us more.
Sure. So the first preparatory hearing for Prime Minister Han Duck-soo will take place this afternoon at 4 p.m. here at the Constitutional Court, and that would be 17 days after the opposition-led parliament pushed through a vote to impeach him shortly after his veto of controversial bills and his refusal to appoint Constitutional Court justices until there was a bipartisan agreement. Now, critics argue that Han, who was serving as acting president at the time, was impeached under voting standards of a simple majority which applies to the prime minister, rather than the two-thirds majority applied to the president, raising its issues with the procedure as well as the validity of the impeachment. And the ruling People Power Party in particular would like to see Han reinstated. The veteran bureaucrat and diplomat, he's been seen as a symbol of stability in the country's governance after President Yoon's powers were suspended. The ruling party has also opposed the current acting president, Choi Sang-mok's move to appoint 2 Constitutional Court justices, which of course enables the court to speed up President Yoon Suk-yeol's impeachment trial. So that's why there have been calls by the ruling party to quickly hold the trial over the Prime Minister's impeachment first. Now, today, justices will review arguments from the National Assembly, who's impeaching him, and the Prime Minister's side to outline the main arguments for arguing for and against impeachment, as well as receiving applications for witnesses and a list of evidence that they would both like to present throughout the trial.
Alrighty, Soo-young, thank you for that coverage. We appreciate it. A week from today, U.S. President-elect Donald Trump will return to the Oval Office, and so will his protectionist trade policies, as is long promised. Is this a complete red flag for South Korea? Let's turn to Professor Oh Jun-seok. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning, Dami.
Professor, let's start with how Trump's protectionist trade policy became popular and gained support in the U.S. to begin with.
As President-elect, Trump has made an indiscriminate tariff, a campaign promise, protectionism, and American first policy have become stronger. What makes protectionism popular? That's because they believe 3 arguments. That trade barrier protect the workers' job, protect the import industry, and safeguard national security. They believe when foreign products face high tariff or are limited by quotas, less competition in the local business, a better chance. They might believe protectionism benefit workers, protecting jobs by making foreign goods more expensive. But as Dami, you mentioned, the first term of the Trump administration tells the truth. It's not exactly. Only workers in a protected industry benefited from the protection. Precisely speaking, Trump's protectionism in the first administration helped workers in steel and electronic home appliance industry at the sacrifice of the rest of the customers. Now, how could it be convincing again? Protectionism is like suggesting an offer to the village people of living together in a big cave. Think for a moment. When you feel safe and free, lock yourself in a dark cave. It might be when village people believe there will be a thunder or heavy rain, and the belief of full of tension, threat, or uncertainty outside draw people into the cave as a safe harbor. Locking cave cannot be a long-term policy. They could hide but not grow nor learn from others. For the time being, protectionism can get shaken and political years, way to go. But however, the economist tells the warning. The wage increases resulting from high tariff, anti-immigrant policies could stimulate the price in the United States. This may be very, very difficult to reconcile with his promise of a low interest rate. President Trump's America First and extreme protectionist policy will become worse and worse on the overall global economy.
Well, what we do know for sure is that Trump will likely keep China in check, especially when it comes to chips and advanced technology, meaning the target will be China. But what we should be concerned about here is that South Korea and South Korea firms may be victims of the U.S.-China trade war that we saw 4 years ago, right?
Right. When the second Donald Trump administration comes into office, one of the most important strategies it must lay out is a comprehensive high-tech policy, including unparalleled cooperation with capable allies amid intensified U.S.-China competition. This type of competition is a supply chain competition. So it is very important for Korea to be included in the supply chain. When the trade tension between two countries become worse, China is likely to take a trade deflection policy, which means round-tripping trades to avoid the rule of origin. Instead of direct trade from China to United States, Chinese product will make an export to Korea first, Canada, or Mexico, and making a transit from Korea, Canada, and Mexico to the United States. This is why Chinese companies had made foreign direct investment into Korea, Canada, and Mexico. Korea lies at present on the fault line of the U.S.-China tension. In the head-to-head, this kind of head-to-head conflicts, Korea became a sitting duck in these geopolitical situations. And this is also the reason the second Trump administration raised the issue of renegotiation of USMCA between Mexico and Canada. Each passport made in Korea, made in Canada might not be allowed anymore. Korea has to cope with the growing dilemma with dependence on the Chinese market, being unable or unwilling to decoupling from China due to its immense economic potential. Even Canada and Mexico, as well as Korea, seek to strengthen their security and defense ties with the United States. In the sense of defragmentation risk management, the private sector really matters a lot in making more resilient and secure supply chain to sustain a robust technology alliance. Anyway, as you mentioned, Korea is likely to fall victim to the escalating trade disputes among the United States, China, and European Union as well.
Well, Professor Oh, South Korean auto and steel sectors are on high alert that they may become the hardest hit by the Trump's protectionism yet again. Now, how can these troubled sectors really survive Trump 2.0?
In the middle of reforming supply chain in chip industry, it is expected that the U.S. push more pressure on China. As a result, Korea semiconductor industry might find unexpected advantage. And the United States may use alliance in its effort to build naval vessel amid the expectation of seeking cooperation with Korea's shipbuilding industry. Trump made it clear amid call for America to bolster its shipbuilding capacity. China is known to have over 230 times the shipbuilding capacity of the United States. States. Trump said the U.S. seek to work with Korea in shipbuilding industry, particularly in naval shipbuilding export, repair, and maintenance. And Trump's proposal for a 10% universal baseline tariff on all import poses risk for Korean automobile export. Tariff hikes could undercut auto export. However, experts say a potential increase in U.S. oil and gas production could help to stabilize global energy prices, offering relief in some areas.
Well, Professor, before I let you go, Samsung Electronics and SK Hynix, two big giants here in South Korea, are among the big beneficiaries under the CHIPS Act. The question is, will Trump uphold the CHIPS Act, something that was signed under the Biden administration?
Yeah, the CHIPS Act provides incentives for chip makers to settle manufacturing in the U.S., which became a point of contention. Trump criticized the bill and its price tag. The Korea EV battery industry, led by LG Energy Solution, SK On, and Samsung SDI, received over 2.65 trillion won as a subsidy from the first quarter of last year to the third quarter of this year under the IRA. Trump is probably not going to roll it back. Korean chip makers and electric vehicle battery manufacturers are particularly on edge, as these companies made substantial investment in the United States in response to Washington's subsidy program. For example, Samsung Electronics was promised to subsidies worth $6.4 billion when a semiconductor plant in Taylor, Texas starts to operate in 2026. SK Hynix, which unveils plan in April to build an artificial intelligence semiconductor plant in Indiana, is expected to receive $450 billion in federal subsidy. Since these subsidies fall under the CHIPS Act, there is a hope that it will likely remain on contact.
All righty, Professor, thank you so much for your time and your insight this morning. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Now, in other news, the top envoys of South Korea and Japan will meet here in Seoul on Monday to discuss ways to develop bilateral relations this year, marking the 60th anniversary of the normalization of diplomatic ties. South Korean Foreign Minister Cho Tae-il and his Japanese counterpart Takeshi Iwaya will meet at the Foreign Ministry building in the afternoon, where they'll also discuss ways to improve trilateral cooperation with the U.S. with the incoming Trump administration. The two foreign ministers are also expected to review projects being promoted for the 60th anniversary of the normalization of diplomatic relations, while also exchanging opinions on historical issues, such as the controversial Sadomae Memorial held last year. Now, Iwaya will be in Seoul for 2 days. He will also meet with acting President Choi Sang-mok. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy shared his thoughts on exchanging recently captured North Korean soldiers with Ukrainian troops being held in Russia. And the interrogations of the North Korean soldiers are also posted online by Zelenskyy. Our Park Kwon-woo has more.
A proposal to swap captured North Korean and Ukrainian troops, written in English, Ukrainian, and also Korean. The offer posted online Sunday by Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy says Ukraine is ready to hand over Kim Jong-un soldiers to him in exchange for Ukrainian soldiers.
If Kim Jong-un remembers these citizens at all and can arrange an exchange for our soldiers held in Russia, we can transfer these soldiers.
Zelenskyy also said there's no doubt that Russia is dependent on military assistance from North Korea, adding that it's only a matter of time before more North Korean soldiers are captured. 2 injured North Korean soldiers, both in their 20s, were caught in the Kursk region by Ukraine last week and then transported to Kyiv for medical care. One of the soldiers was found with a Russian military ID under a different name and registered in the Tuva Republic. The Security Service of Ukraine has been communicating with them with the help of South Korea's National Intelligence Service, as they only speak Korean. Footage of the interrogations was also uploaded to social media by Zelenskyy over the weekend.
누구랑 싸운다고 했어?
훈련을 실전처럼 해본다고 했어요.
다시 북한으로 돌아가고 싶어?
우크라이나 사람들은 다 좋은가요? 여기서 살고 싶어요.
Zelenskyy also said if the North Korean soldiers do not wish to return to the north, there are other options for them to stay and spread the truth of the war in Korean. 박건우, Arirang News.
While firefighters continue to take on the massive wildfires that have ravaged LA County, strong winds in the forecast in the area are expected to worsen the situation further. Authorities say they're deploying even more firefighters to the affected areas. Lee Seung-jae reports.
With firefighters still struggling to extinguish the massive wildfires that continue to spread throughout Los Angeles County, strong winds are forecast to hit the affected region, further worsening the already tense situation. Fire authorities are deploying over 1,000 fire trucks and over 10,000 firefighters before the strong winds arrive.
Now today, strong north to northeast winds gusts are up to 50 miles per hour with low humidity will be observed. A red flag warning is in effect and will remain until 6 p.m. Wednesday evening. Strong Santa Ana winds are also expected to last through Wednesday, with the strongest winds occurring on Tuesday. With the next wave of wind events, I want to be very, very clear here. It's very important that the community understands that these wind events are coming into Los Angeles. I want to reassure you that Mayor Bass, Chief McDonald, and I are united and focused on exactly what we need to do to prepare the city with these next strong winds that are coming.
With local firefighters struggling to extinguish the fast-moving fires, firefighters from 9 other states have joined efforts to control the fires. Firefighters from Mexico have also been deployed to help. The joint efforts are all the more crucial due to how fast the fires are moving. So far in the 4 active wildfires in Los Angeles County, 160 square kilometers have been burned, an area larger than San Francisco. As of Sunday afternoon local time, only 11% of the fire in Pacific Palisades had been extinguished, while 27% had been extinguished in Eaton. The economic losses from the wildfires are estimated to be between $135 billion to $150 billion so far. However, with many of the wildfires yet to be extinguished, that figure is expected to rise even further. Unfortunately, with residents evacuating, incidents of looting and homes being broken into are on the rise. At least 16 people have been confirmed dead and 16 others are reportedly missing. More than 12,000 buildings have so far been destroyed by the fires. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
Good morning, I'm Choi Ji-hee, and this is The World Now. U.S. President-elect Donald Trump has announced plans for an upcoming meeting with Russian President Vladimir Putin after Trump is sworn in on January 20th. The Kremlin has responded positively, with spokesperson Dmitry Peskov noting Putin's openness to dialogue. The exact timeline for talks between the two leaders has not yet been offered. However, it's expected to address the ongoing conflict in Ukraine. Trump's potential return to the White House has sparked optimism for a diplomatic resolution to end Moscow's invasion of Ukraine, which began in February 2022. During his election campaign, Trump repeatedly claimed he could end the war within 24 hours. However, he and his advisors have more recently suggested that peace might be achievable within months of his inauguration. Despite the hope, there are concerns in queue that a swift peace deal could come at a significant cost for Ukraine. Over in Africa, the Sudanese armed forces announced on January 11th that it had recaptured the strategic city of Wad Madani from the paramilitary group Rapid Support Forces. This marks a significant victory in the ongoing civil war in Sudan. Wad Madani, the capital of Gezira State, had been under RSF control since December 2023. The recapture of Wad Madani is expected to have major implications for the ongoing conflict, potentially shifting the balance of power in favor of the SAF. Known as an agricultural hub, the central city had previously served as a refuge for displaced families and a base for humanitarian operations. The conflict in Sudan, which began in April 2023, has resulted in over 28,000 deaths, the displacement of more than 12 million people, and half the population facing hunger, creating one of the world's largest humanitarian crises. Over in Romania, tens of thousands of people took to the streets of Bucharest on Sunday to protest the Constitutional Court's unprecedented cancellation of the presidential election on December 6th. The court's decision cited allegations of electoral violations and potential Russian interference that favored right-wing candidate Călin Gheorghescu, a critic of NATO who had unexpectedly led the first round of voting. In response to the court's ruling, the government has rescheduled the election dates for May 4th and a potential runoff on May 18th. However, uncertainty remains over whether Gheorghescu will be permitted to run again. In Russia's Yakutia region, dozens of marathon runners braved freezing temperatures of around -50 degrees Celsius. Also known as the Cold Pole, it's one of the coldest regions in the world, and such weather is typical for the winter season, where the lowest temperature on record was -67.7 degrees Celsius in 1933. While a marathon 42.2 kilometers long is challenging even in ideal weather, running in such cold conditions only adds to the difficulty. Runners sipped hot beverages for hydration and were seen with their hair and eyelashes covered in ice.
After bone-chilling temperatures we had last week, we'll see the cold snap subsiding for the earlier part of this week. The readings will gradually go down towards the end of the week, but it should not be as bad as last week. Meanwhile, central parts of Korea could see snow flurries today and into tomorrow. Gangwon-do province could see up to 5 centimeters of snowfall. But the dust level is high in the capital area in Gyeongsang-do provinces this morning. In Sejong and Chungcheongbuk-do province will see bad dust levels throughout the day today. Now, cold wave alerts remain in place for parts of central regions and Gyeongsang-Buk-do today. Highs will be 2 to 3 degrees Celsius higher than Sunday, topping out at 6 degrees here in the capital, Daegu, Gyeongju at 7 degrees. Now, Jeju and Jeollado provinces will see a mix of rain and snow in the middle of this week, with a dry advisory still in place for the East Coast. Well, that's Korea for you, and here's a look at the international weather conditions.
That's all we have for our morning edition of Arirang News. Thanks for watching and have a wonderful start to the week.